Welcome to Examic Wellness Summit 2024, a 4-day online expert panel discussion forum focused on addressing some of the most relevant and pressing challenges faced in today's workplace related to workplace well-being. Day 1 will cover mental well-being, workplace stress management, and the crucial role of HR. Day 2 will focus on breaking stigma, diversity, equity, and inclusion, occupation-driven challenges, and mental well-being in education. Day 3 will explore the impact of technology, the future of mental well-being in the workplace, and the role of CSR. Day 4 will dive into integrating physical and mental well-being, evaluating the effectiveness of well-being programs. We are honored to have a group of distinguished and accomplished panelists who have graciously taken the time to share their wisdom, knowledge, and experience with us. We are deeply grateful for their participation and effort. I am Sandesh, and it is my privilege to host this event as your moderator. A heartfelt thank you to my entire team who have been working tirelessly behind the scenes to make the summit a success. A special thank you in alphabetical order to Anusha, Mohan, Sailesh, Surakshita, Ravi, and Vikram. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to you the expert panelists in alphabetical order again for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce Ayushi Kulsunge, a 20-year-old dynamo who makes the rest of us wonder what we've been doing with our lives. As the founder of the Teen Mental Health Society, she's been shaping conversations on mental health, contributing to policy discussions with the Ministry of Education, and sharing her expertise at the Council of International Schools Conference, all before some of us have finished our morning coffee. Recognized by the Times of India and Channel News Asia, Ayushi is on a mission to make the world a better place, one conversation at a time. Please welcome the young visionary who makes 20 the new wise and accomplished, Ayushi Kulsunge. Today, we have a true powerhouse and trailblazer in the world of HR joining us. Someone Forbes India has recognized as a top 30 talent leader in 2024. With over 25 years of experience in the field, Asma Sultana has practically done it all. Talent acquisition, strategy, management, you name it. Whether it's building class teams, driving diversity and inclusion, or being the go-to problem solver when HR mysteries need unraveling, Asma has been there, done that, and probably even has a t-shirt for it. A certified coach, passionate about developing talent, Asma is not just about policies and procedures, but about people, potential, and finding solutions amongst ambiguity. Asma has worked across global teams, led through change, and if there's a HR challenge, rest assured, Asma has seen it, solved it, and moved on to the next. Please welcome the ultimate talent strategist and trust advisor, Asma Sultana. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce the powerhouse in the field of entrepreneurship and skill development, Dr. Sunchu Glory Swarupa. With over 25 years of experience, she is not just any leader in the MSME sector. She is the Director General with a passion for developing as long as the cup of triple espresso. Dr. Swarupa is an academician and a practitioner with a PhD in entrepreneurship, skill development, and an arm 9 books or publishing 51 scientific papers. She's handling government projects, driving initiatives for women entrepreneurs, and collecting awards like they're going out of hand. Most notably, a Lifetime Achievement Award and a United Nations SDG Award for Gender Equality. A true advocate for sustainable development, multilingual and multi-talented, please join me in welcoming the indomitable Dr. Swarupa. Today, Narayan Swamy KN, an officer who's worn many hats, from leading the charge in anti-terror operations to mentoring young officers in the Karnataka State Police Department. He played a crucial role in the famous Operation Cocoon, which for those was more exciting than any action movie. Think Veerappan. Narayan Swamy's experience ranges from the anti-Naxal force to being a trainer at the State Intelligence Training Academy. And if it wasn't enough, He's also been involved with the elite Garuda force, sharpening skills and strategies at the Center for Counter-Terrorism. But when he's not busy protecting the state, you might find him on the cricket field, mentoring future talent or leading young scouts and guides. So let's all welcome a true all-rounder on the field, in the field, and everywhere in between, Narayan Swami KN. Today's panelist is none other than Dr. Reena Das, a powerhouse and trailblazer in the world of HR, and someone who seems to have cracked the secret of squeezing more than 25 years of experience into one career. As the CHRO at Keolis Hyderabad Mass Rapid Transit System, she has been the driving force behind impactful HR solutions and initiatives. Her journey includes impressive leadership stints at Randstad India, Badra International, Ports India, and TVS. So if you've ever taken a smooth ride on the Hyderabad Metro, there's a good chance she's had a hand in that too. Armed with an MBA in HR management from Berhampur University and further sharpening her skills at IIM Bangalore and XLRI, Dr. Das is not just any HR leader. She's one who has her shelf full of awards, including CHRO of the Year by Women Entrepreneur magazine. With expertise that spans from leadership development to women's human rights, and with a heart that's as big as a resume, Dr. Reena Das is here to share her insights and perhaps even a little HR wisdom, all while keeping us on track. Let's welcome Dr. Reena Das, the woman who could probably solve any HR problem before her morning coffee is even finished. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Sara Kanchwala, a passionate student of life and an explorer at heart. With over 20 years of experience in learning and development, Sara's mission is all about creating possibilities and helping people find their inner power. Her as a leadership sorcerer, weaving magic to transform lives, one conversation at a time. The coach who's not just about talk, is about transformation, whether it's enriching relationships, nurturing self-worth, or finding your life's purpose. And if you're wondering how serious she is about making a difference, just know she's on a journey to add equal victory to her already impressive skill set. From giants like Sri and Pfizer to educational institutions and community programs, Sara has touched countless lives. So if you're looking to discover your best version, you might just want to have a word with her. If you're lucky, she might sprinkle a bit of that sorcery your way. Let's welcome Somdev Chowdhury, a true veteran in talent selection, development, and assessments. With nearly 2 decades of experience in creating learning and solutions and 3 decades of overall expertise, Somdev has become a go-to person for anything in selection, development, and assessments. He currently consults for STEP from the Hindu Group and serves as principal consultant at Quint, where he fine-tunes his mastery in assessment product development. In short, Somdev has spent more time assessing talent than most of us have spent deciding to watch on Netflix. A warm welcome to the talent guru himself. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce a powerhouse of talent and detail, Shramona Banerjee. With over 8 years of experience in the financial services sector, she currently leads the diversity, equity, and inclusion strategy for the APAC region at Moody's Corporation. She's got a knack for data analysis, market forecasting, and corporate communication, all with a customer-centric and strategic touch. Before this, she had a stint bolstering CMBS and RMBS ratings at Moody's, took on the role of co-chair for India's Women's Business Resource Group, supporting professional well-being for female employees. And just when you think she couldn't have done more, she started off at Tata Consultancy Services, handling global clients, designing training modules, and even helping with new customer acquisitions. So essentially, she's the kind of person who makes multitasking look like a walk in the park. Please join me in welcoming Shramona, the multitasker extraordinaire who probably analyzes market trends while making her morning coffee. Introducing Sujendra GS, the Vice President of Human Resources at Creative Synergies Group, a man with over 22 years of HR expertise and a true wizard when it comes to transforming employee experiences. Sujendra has navigated the HR landscape across various industries, from his leadership at LTI Mindtree's BFSI vertical and APAC Geo to his work with Intelligent Technologies and Global Edge Software. Whether it's talent management, leadership development, or setting up reward systems, Sujendra has seen it all and done it all. Now, he's on a mission to align talent with business goals and elevate the operational bandwidth at creative synergies. So, if you need HR advice, he's got decades of experience. But don't worry, he won't bill you by the hour. This isn't a lawyer you're talking to. Let's give a warm welcome to Sujendra. Welcome back. And Sujendra, I can see your camera has started working. All right. So quite a few of the attendees are still joining in, and it's good. We've got a good house. We've got a fairly robust set, and I'm just going to reseat Sarah and Dr. Glory Swarupa, who's just there and went out. I'll just bring her out in front. Just a second. Okay, I'll try to move you as the conversation goes, but we'll have to move you up in front. Glory Swarupa is yet to come in, and she will be right with us. Fine. So I have a couple of things that we want to start off with, but some of the points that we're going to look at are going to be fairly startling. Most of you have seen what is already out there in terms of. Good afternoon, Dr. Glory Swarupa.
Yeah, very good afternoon and namaskar to all.
Namaskar to you too. Thank you very much. I know we had some initial problem for you joining in. My apologies, but I'm glad that you're in here. You're going to be very important for our discussion today. Thank you so much. So just to share with you some of the very interesting and yet startling numbers that we've seen across. 12 billion working days lost globally on account of mental well-being, and 1 trillion productivity. We look at the number of days that we're losing. This is just in terms of the loss in productivity, in terms of people not coming into office. Just think about the problem that you have with presenting and still have a mental well-being challenge. That is going to have the research estimate $14 billion annually as a productivity loss in India on account of mental wellness, right? Also, when we look at it from a reported set of numbers, 1 in 5 globally are affected by mental wellness, whereas 1 in 8 in India are affected by mental wellness. Just the reported numbers. It could be far, far higher than what this is. And we say 7.5% of the Indian population suffers from mental health challenges that include stress, anxiety, and depression. And we also probably will recognize the fact that not everyone discloses their state of mental well-being. Now, given this background and given this set of data, Asma, I would like to go with you first to understand, with such a high prevalence of mental health challenges in India, what do you see as the main stressor impacting workplace mental well-being, and how can companies begin to tackle these challenges head on?
Thank you, Sandesh. A warm welcome to each one of you, and good afternoon, everyone. Well, hearing some of your statistics, I'm not quite surprised. And I think post-pandemic, there was a time where people were just working from home, and then it came with a hybrid, and now it is returned to office. And there you go. You try to battle, you try to deal with multiple stresses. And for me, I think, which is very common, is Sandesh. One is workload and time pressure. One is lack of control, work-life balance, job expectations, and I think the most important aspect is interpersonal conflicts that each one of them are dealing with. And of course, job insecurity. I think an amalgamation of all this is creating that bit of fear. For example, job insecurity, a fear of layoffs, where my name will be in the line, where I will be asked to leave. How do I manage about it? Lack of support, which is actually inching big time, is insufficient support from colleagues and managements. And as an organization, how do we address this? Should we have a mentorship programs? Should we talk to them? Should we have effective communication? Interpersonal conflicts with the tension that builds up with the colleagues and with the management can also be an issue. Job expectations, because I face this on a day-to-day basis with our teams, with an extended teams. This is not what my role was. I was not hired for this. So there is a bit of anxiety that comes up. And hence, it's imperative and prudent that, we draw a clear job definition for each one of them, give them a time, encourage work-life balance is extremely important, I guess. I think work environment is another big aspect. Lack of recognition. Some of these, I can go on, Sandesh. These are some key stresses that comes to my mind when you talk about mental well-being, which is some of the stresses which is impacting totally from a subject standpoint. I'm not sure if I lost him. I lost you.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Sandesh will be back soon.
I think it is gone. I think
Murphy has his day, and Sandesh has his as well. So I'm just coming in.
I can
Please
understand.
continue. I can hear you. We've got a backup system on the side, so I can hear you. My video is just going to come back on in a minute. Please continue.
I can understand. No worries. I think I'm sure the panel who's there today can allude to what I'm saying as well. And I think it's very, very imperative on our part to ensure that, we call out, we talk to these people openly, and it's very, very, it's important on our part to say that reach out to us if you're feeling you're getting burnt out. Reach out to us if you need any support on the ground. Reach out to us if you need any help on the job to execute. Today, I think most of the problem that we face with these kids or with this generation is, I think, not too many people talk about it if they want to have a help or they want to seek for any help. I think they feel it's hesitant to reach out. How can I speak to somebody if I need some help? And mental well-being is a very, I would not say cliche, it's a very sensitive topic. I think it takes a village for someone to reach out for a help. I mean, I can give you one classic example that not now, almost about 15 years back when I lost my mom. I went through a massive depression, and I couldn't reach out to people for help because I thought where people will taboo me saying that, okay, what is she talking about? Right. But I think it's so very important to speak to somebody, tell them what you're going through, what kind of feeling you're going through, how it is important for you to come out of it. It's very, very important. I think for me, the biggest ask to people is talk, ask for help. All these things will get sorted out.
So very true, Asma. And if you can see, I'm actually at the back here right now. I'm going to come back in the front in a little while. But Dr. Glory Swarupa, in your experience, how does workplace stress manifest itself in day-to-day operations? And I'm talking now, you've seen both the enterprise side and you've seen government side as well. And what are the warning signs that leadership should be aware of?
Namaskar. Mr. Sandesh Naidu and all the esteemed panelists and participants, very good afternoon to all of you and greetings from National Institute for Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises, Ministry of MSME, Government of India, Hyderabad. I really appreciate the efforts put forth by Mr. Sandesh Naidu and their team. And I also compliment the panelists for making it convenient to participate in today's session. To me, actually, this mental well-being and mental health, I feel like it is very, very personal. It is very personal trait. We are talking about workplace, but my basic question is, what about home? At family also, we have a lot of disturbances, sometimes with our own mother, father, our own child, siblings, and immediate circle. Many are there. So actually, to me, the mental peace should start from a family. Because work, we may work for 30 years or 35 years, that's all. But even before work and after work, our family is with us. So it starts from there. And to me, like everyone should also make it a point to treat workplace also as family. I strongly believe we spend more time at work in office than at home. Because morning, the moment you get up, you are in a hurry to rush up to your work. Then you are spending solid 8 to 10 hours. Then the moment you go home, you are tired, or everyone has their own things to do, carry out at home. Then maybe for dinner, people are meeting. Sometimes that is also not happening. Then everyone goes to sleep. Then again morning you get up and you are rushing. So actually everyone should have a feeling or rather develop at work also, office or wherever the place, to see that they are happy and keep the surroundings happy. It is not so easy. It is very easy to say that keep everything very pleasant and happy. Something or the other keep cropping up with colleague, with a subordinate, with boss, elsewhere. It's keep on happening. Sometimes, I was trying to join this meeting since 2:15, but I could not. So this meeting, you all exercised patience, and the team from Dr. Sandesh Naidu, they were trying to help my office so that I can join the meeting. Had it been some very important official meeting where secretary is chairing or minister is chairing, then the response would be something different. Yes. That also causes a kind of different. I can't say depression, but bad feeling when you are making all efforts to join the meeting with a lot of preparation, but when these things happen. So like that, intentionally, unintentionally, things keep happening. But to me, like a person should be very focused. Why they are at workplace? Is it just a mere livelihood, or is it just to perform because they have opportunity, or is it real service they want to extend to their clients or stakeholders? So they have to be very, very clear on this. And why they are coming, traveling 20 kilometers or 5 kilometers, whatever, to stay in office for 8 hours, 10 hours. So why they are coming? They have to have very clear understanding. I always say that this is not the age or stage for anybody to teach all these things. All our education, maybe post graduation or beyond that, 20-25 years we are studying, then you are entering into a job. So all our education, family brought up, everything should help us to maintain our mental balance, and to see that surroundings are also balanced, because we are not alone at office, it's always a team. So how do you enable that? There are difficulties, there are challenges, but one thing I strongly believe everybody should try to practice, that it is not for your colleague you are in office, it is not for your boss you are in office. Okay, it is you want an occupation, you want to continue with a profession, and you want some livelihood, you want something status, you want meaningful engagement of your education. That's why you are in a profession. So it is up to the individual to keep up their mental balance and see that their surrounding is all right. Always complaining, so and so fellow is not cooperating, so if somebody is not passing on the information, somebody is not giving the paper on time, and it is not my duty because it has, it is not informed to me. All these things I feel lame excuses. Okay, that's how people in the pretext of these kind of mental well-being or health, they try to do away with the responsibility. I feel that way, because over almost
Sure.
close to
So
30 years of experiences with different organizations, different locations, different ministries. That's what I feel. So it is up to the individual. So how do you keep up? Actually, always it is told that happiness or anything, it's internal. Nobody can give you happiness. No one can take away your happiness. So your work should create, generate
as a
happiness.
follow-up from this, Dr. Swarup, I have a question for Asma again.
Yeah.
And essentially because, when you look at how we started this off, I'd like to understand from Asma what the practical implications for HR and leadership are going to be. Because if there is no HR buy-in and there's no leadership buy-in more than HR buy-in, none of your initiatives or your, the steps that you're going to take are going to see the light of day. So how do you assess the Indian workforce experience? How do they experience stress, in your opinion? Like how Glory was just talking about in terms of her experience. In your opinion, what does the Indian workforce experience as stress or anxiety? And what should be the HR and leadership steps that go along with it?
Well, I think, it's just not a word. I think we all have imbibed, we all have absorbed that we need to give a significant focus and importance for mental well-being. I think in my last 25, 26 years of experience, I can look back. It wasn't the case 25 years back. This was not a focus on mental well-being, but I think it has evolved significantly over a period of time from how it used to be and how it is now. I think today, one of the key KPI as a talent acquisition leader or as an HR leader that we have is, are we fostering the culture? Are we giving the conducive environment for our employees? Do we have sufficient awareness created for employees? Today, I think I'm going by our examples. We deal with Gen Zs largely, and I think the biggest challenge some of these kids face is they can't handle pressure, they burnt out, and yeah, it leads to absenteeism, it leads to unprofessional behavior, so on and so forth. And I think the biggest factor, what we keep in mind is, Sandesh, is what is our engagement metrics talks about. We are running employee surveys. Can we conduct employee surveys, assess employee satisfaction with mental well-being program? Questions to focus only on awareness, accessibility, perceived impact, and overall satisfaction. I think that is what we are driving to. Second is, in engagement metrics, can we track participation, rates in mental health programs. I mean, we have EAPs, we have well-being apps. Are people using it? We run surveys to check out really people making use of that. Second is, I think, have a feedback mechanism, right? Create an anonymous feedback channels where employees can share their thoughts on initiatives. I mean, what we might think and what we have implemented might not be going well or might not have been accepted well by the employees. So I think running a feedback mechanism as to what is going well, what is not going well is very, very important. And I think couple of years back, this is something that we have introduced. There are multiple programs under this whole umbrella of mental well-being that we run, whether it is yoga classes, whether it is stretch exercises, whether it is, something else, or just a conversation or feedback. I think that is helping to check how is the turnover rate happening? How is the retention strategy happening? I think that is becoming a part of our KPI. And we are answerable to our upline, to our leadership that, I think this is needed. These are the channels we have implemented. This is working well. This is not working well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I just want to follow this up with a question, because Dr. Swarupa also spoke about some of the stressors, and I think let's focus on the stressors for a bit. Yes. And Shramona, I'd like you to step in to tell us. And I'm sure Asma is also itching because she wanted to talk about the stressors, but I'm going to give her a quick break on this and then first come to you, Shramona, and try to understand from you what the key stressors are that you see that organizations face. The reason I'm coming to you, Shramona, first is because you have a little bit of a exposure being part of Moody's with 3-4 organizations that you consult for as Moody's Corporation. And there have been certain instances in the recent past which nobody is going to shy away from. But then, what do you think the key stressors are and what impact does it have to organizations? How does it manifest itself?
Thank you so much, Sandesh, for the question. And so glad to be here with all the panelists. Good afternoon to everyone. So before we move on to the stressors, I mean, excellent points made by Asma and Dr. Gloria. It is really very, very important to understand that mental health, stress, even though you showed some numbers, which I was not very surprised to see, but we cannot really assign numbers and pursue, all these policies for mere tokenism. In many of the pointers that Asma and Dr. Glory, they were making, it is also about role modeling. It is also about the culture. It has got a lot to do with the culture that you set up. And very funnily, when you talk about my exposure to Moody's Corporation, which of course has the ratings business and three other organizations, stresses can come in terms of deadlines, deliverables, and all of that. But I think the kind of stresses that people do not talk about is passive-aggressive behavior by employees, you not being able to reach out to a senior or you being hesitant to even talk about mental health because people feel that it's fancy or you are just using it to as an excuse and things like that. So it is all the softer parts. We cannot really say that because somebody has to deliver something by 9 p.m. today, they are so stressed that they had a mental health breakdown. So it is really, Sandesh, very difficult. About therapy and like just now it was spoken that you can have many policies, but the uptake of those policies is also very important. So very much championing EAP, and if you do not want to go for EAP within the organization, how about talk to a therapist? If you do not want to talk to a therapist, how about talk to somebody from a different line of business to share what you are going through? Sometimes we are also very sensitive as to if I am not feeling well mentally, I do not want to go to my boss and say this. What if that person thinks it?
Absolutely. And we're talking about mental health triggers, and most of us always associate an organization, an office, maybe a factory setup. But seldom we forget people who are actually looking at society a little differently. For example, we have ACP Narayan Swamy here with us, who's dealing with challenges day in and day out. And Narayan Swami, how do you see, what are the main stresses that you have in your profession? I'm sure every day is a new challenge, and every day you have a lot of situations that cause anxiety, depression, and probably a lot of trauma as well. So please enlighten us.
Thank you. So far, we had a wonderful hearing, and regarding the mental well-being, the professional approach of everybody is so valuable. And in my profession, actually, I'm totally from a different profession where mental well-being and physical well-being and moral well-being has to be clubbed even before entering into the department. Like, I think police department is the one department where even before screening and selecting and then taking anybody into the department, in the initial stages itself, they will have to do lots of thinking, as all our learned people have said it so. Even before taking them in, we'll have to be putting some minimum physical fitness like running events, throwing events, and the jumping events, so that he should be in a capable position to cross over any hurdles it may come during his work culture. So after
Yes,
that, he will be.
So sorry to step in.
Yeah,
My
please,
question
please.
was actually to be to understand from you what are the aspects that actually cause well-being challenges. For example, in your profession there would be challenges that you face on a regular basis.
I'm coming there only. Yeah. I'm coming there only. So in the initial stages itself, the first stage where we have already given first preference for mental well-being and the physical well-being and then the moral well-being. When we take in, he will be a police officer who will be looking after the traffic or civil or crime or various factors. Like, he will be an officer getting in. Once if he gets in, there comes a different challenges within the department. Like, so there some faction, some factors, and some factors when we wanted to attend, then it needs more physical fitness, more mental alertness, and the knowledge, like the focused knowledge. It's something like intensive knowledge. It's not an extensive knowledge like any other police officers are having. There the mental stress percolates in. Say, for example, if a graduate gets into the department and if he is posted in a highly traffic jam, KR circle or other areas, Bangalore is famous for traffic problem in the world over. So that is already proven. Suppose the stress level that police officer who has come from a door, please, who has come from an ordinary, as a farmer's son, as an engineer's son, as a doctor's son, as somebody else, he will not be having all that. So before entering into enjoying this profession without any stress and strain, he has to be groomed. And for that reason, 1 year special probationary period will be there. There, stress and strain and psychology, physical fitness, outdoor, indoor, everything we give it for everybody. But once when the practical implementation of all the knowledge which he learns it in the basic factors, when he comes onto the road as a traffic police officer, when he takes on AK-47, SLR, INSAS, assault weapons, when he has to face Naxals or the terrorists, when he has to go for the combing, ambush, raid attacks. See, each and every act which he has to do it demands a different kind of stress and strain, handling different kind of stress and straining. He should have got so much of shock absorbers of a different kind. Like in this mode, he has to think about his family matters also, because sometimes like how our BSF, CRPF and those people who work in the bordering areas, even in our department, the Karnataka State Reserve Police Act or like a CR, City Armed Reserve, or District Armed Reserve. These people, they also asked to work maybe 500 kilometers away. Maybe Bangalore guy will go to Gulbarga, and in Datta Jayanti, he will have to ask to go to Chikmagalur for stay there one month. If it is in Shimoga Ganapati Hindu Sabha festival, maybe 1 month he will have to go over there. So very recently now Muda aspect, or else Dasara festival in Mysore, like all over Karnataka. See, he has to meet the stress and strain which comes automatically, like he'll have to handle the parents, he'll have to handle the family, and you'll have to see how the children, most of the time they cannot give much time to children, how they grow, and most of the time police officers, it's a famous saying, by the moment he leaves, the children will be sleeping. The moment he comes home at 12 o'clock or so, they will be sleeping. So you will not be seeing the child at all. So that stress, like you will not be enjoying, like any lecturers, say for example, our software engineers or well-being experts who are there, they are enjoying. I can see in their face so much like satisfaction, job satisfaction is there in them, and they can enjoy with their family life. But our police people, they will have a lot of stress. Under this stress angle, if we demand qualitative work, say for example, as an IO, investigation officer, if he is asked to do some murder case, or if he is asked to do some Muda case, for example, see, he has got stress from what level? Maybe the Prime Minister level, maybe the CM level, maybe the Home Minister level, maybe the local level, and his own family level. And there are, like, the stress which he has to maintain. Again, 3 vices also. Wine, woman, wealth. He is after all a human being, and it is very easy for a cop or a uniformed officer to reach over there. And these factors also you'll have to fight over. And then this 5 Ws and 1H, like he has to be a wonderful scientific psychology, even if he has passed a degree, a BA degree, but public as a public, say for example, if something happens to any of us in the panel, most of them are 5 PhD holders, 2 PhD holders, if something happens, they will directly go to a constable who has just passed a +2, 12th standard he has passed. And they will go on sir, my husband has hit me, or my wife has hit me, even if they are 2 PhD holders or 3 PhD holders. And that constable or an head constable or ASI should be in a position to understand, oh, I am meeting a research student, I am meeting a PhD holder, I am meeting an Infosys Sudhanarayan Murthy, I am meeting Ajit Premji. See, like that, the cases can come anytime. The stress which comes onto the police is immeasurable, and it is unique in nature. And
yes,
that
I'm going to come
why,
very quickly to you regarding your Operation Cocoon, and also regarding Veerappan. I'm going to come back to that, because there are a couple of questions I'm sure some of our panelists also want to ask. And before we go forward, Dr. Swarupa, thank you so much. I know you came into this meeting under a lot of time constraint, and thank you. You've done it only for me, I am aware. Thank you very much. And I will reciprocate, and I really appreciate your presence over here. I'm going to let you go for your rest of the meetings that you have. I think you're already late by 5 minutes. Thank you so much for being a part of this session. And I will share all the outputs with you in a couple of days after we are done.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And just one final word. For the first time, we received a circular from Ministry of Health and Family Welfare that we have to organize, series of sessions at workplace, to create that kind of, the ecosystem. So,
very nice.
Yeah. Today it's a very coincidence. And
lovely.
I can always, tell this session that one activity is being conducted. So we are very much grateful to you. Like it is told to, make one gratitude wall. So whenever someone has, did something outstanding or, very significant output, so to be displayed for some time, so that, people are encouraged. So that is one thing. The second one is like to have a competition related to art and poetry. So
Right.
like, yeah, we have many things from government to observe, like vigilance awareness, then Swachhata, like that, then Samata Divas, like that many. So this also, so they're asking us to organize poetry or art. So whatever
Wonderful.
it is their perception, so people can take part, and some certificate or appreciation can be award, something like that it can be given. Then they're asking to conduct some counseling sessions also. I'm very happy to share that almost every month we are inviting Brahmakumari's expert to our campus for a session. So whenever they have some special guest from their headquarters, Mount Abu, otherwise when we have a session, good programs, we are inviting them, and they always speak about peace and all these things, brotherlyhood, those things. And they are asking us to create one room also this time in the campus, like a mental wellness room with they have given some specifications. Whenever people feel like that, they may go and rest some time. But I think in government setup it may not help much, because you will find more people there only rather at workplace.
Correct. Absolutely. In fact, we're going to have.
Yeah, we have to make a balance between all these things. But anyway, it's a wonderful, experience being with you all. Yeah, good to listen to, especially the ACP
Yes.
and Miss Sarah also. So I look forward to more this kind of interaction. And thanks to Mr. Sandesh and team. Thank you very much. And
Wonderful.
I wish all of you a very happy day. Okay.
Yes, we'll send you the recordings of each of these
Yeah.
sessions, because
Thank you
just
very
now
much. It was very
Somdev is
informative.
going to shed some light on the supportive work environment. Som, this is for you. When we're looking at all of these points that have been coming up, and Ayushi, I'm going to come to you immediately after. What are the strategies, Somdev, that leaders can implement to create a culture of openness? You heard Shramona talking about the culture. You heard Asma talking about it, and Dr. Swarupa mentioning the new initiatives that the government is taking. So, what strategies should actually be implemented by leadership and by leaders to create a culture of openness? Number one, and especially when seeking support for mental health, and it should not be seen as a weakness, of course, but it should seen to be as a step towards personal and organizational growth. Now, is that an oxymoron? First of all, personal and organization growth, and two, what role do you think that the leadership should play, and how do we go about creating this ecosystem?
Sure. Thanks, Sandesh, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. Now, all that you mentioned, Sandesh, and in my preparation of sorts, I found that this is really heavy. So I may take some time more than what you've allotted, but let me see how soon I can finish this. So for us, and me at 53 today with about 32 years of work experience, and having a fair sense of how things are in terms of people, process, technology, and the works. This fast-paced work environment that we have stresses, and I don't think I should repeat, but it's common companion. And there is also talk about good stress and bad stress. And evidently, we are not talking about the good parts here now today. But as leaders, how we ourselves respond and manage stress sets the tone for the entire organization. Because it's not only about achieving our goals, it's about ensuring that these goals are, one reaches these goals in a way that preserves the well-being of our teams. And when I say this, I have this, and it's almost, I think I've patented it to an art of sorts to say, except for some professions. So for example, like healthcare, right, where you have doctors in emergency rooms and medical and paramedical staff, etc. We seem to have pushed, and like ACP said, his is a different ball game altogether. I think most of us are not even part of that, right? But the businesses are made to look like it's doctors in an emergency room or medical staff in an emergency room. It beats me how that happens. So essentially saying that here the entire top-down approach that Shomana spoke of, right? That's what helps, and which is what sets the tone for effective team stress management. Now, how do we do that? We model healthy behaviors. We need to be demonstrating and not doing lip service to the way we handle stress, the way we handle workload, and this whole talk about work-life balance, etc. We need to, leaders themselves need to exhibit. So it's not, it's going to be counterproductive to say that I'm going to show the world that I work 14, 15, 16 hours a day, and someone is patting me on the back for all you know that it's me myself. And then I talk about these things, right? And which clearly is not, and all of us here in this forum at least, and even in the attendees, I'm sure will accept that 9 to 10 good quality of hours of work pretty much does it. And the rest is really stuff that we do in a variety of interests, right? So that's modeling healthy behaviors. Then you have creating safe space for dialogues. You spoke about openness. Now, how do you, so is there a framework? Is there a theory? Is there stuff? All of what I'm going to speak about is from personal experiences of having worked in a variety of organizations, large and small, running my own entrepreneurial venture, etc. It is for us to demonstrate, right? And how do you demonstrate that? You do communicate to people. And there are various ways that happens in organizations. That's especially in those are large in scale. But you really demonstrate, and which is where leaders that need to take the first step to demonstrate by talking to people more, getting personal, showing genuine interest in people, and which is where you give a sense. So it's a give and take, right? You don't say that you announce one fine day that we are going to create a safe space for dialogue, and then you don't know what's happening. So you need to exhibit. So all that I'm saying is we need to demonstrate things by ourselves. And what organizations can do is the proactive parts, right? So proactive parts of stress management, largely about, possibly wellness checks, workshops, providing resources like counselors, etc. And I have a wealth of information which shows to me that various organizations, even the large ones, are doing a lot of work in this space using not only technology, but sheer focusing on the importance of having a, if I may say, a well-rounded work environment. And like I said at the very beginning, something that targets in achieving goals with the wellness of everyone in mind. And what COVID has clearly done for us is flexibility in work arrangements. So that's another area. And I don't need to talk about this. It's pretty well known, understood, experienced. It has worked wonderfully. So you've taken off the stress of doing personal stuff. So how do you manage personal stuff versus work? And then for leaders to trust people that within a finite time, which is not necessarily bound to traditional 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 schedules, you're able to manage your work well enough. So trust being another element there that comes into play. And prioritizing well-being in team goals. Now, how does one do that? Honestly speaking, do I have specific pointers to that? Not really, but to generally say that the leader demonstrates by interactions through a lot of conversations which are not necessarily only work oriented, but rather oriented towards the individual that one is interacting with. And in my experience, taking interest in people, and it's a repetition, I know, but taking interest in them, their well-being, etc., goes a long, long way. And also in doing that, another thing, as not so relevant it may be here, but expressing your own vulnerabilities as a leader. I think these go a long, long way to ensure that well-being of all is well taken care of. And oft spoken about words today, empathy and emotional intelligence. I'm not too sure across the wide spectrum that we have, people even realize what that means. So I would think while leadership must be grounded in empathy, the fact that you need to understand your own emotions and manage them and recognize that of others, I think requires some special intervention. So it's not like one knows it all or certain number of years of experience brings that value to the table. But I would personally think there is some expert guidance required here for people to even understand what emotional intelligence and what empathy is. So not simply confusing empathy with sympathy and a variety of things, but those are aspects that need to be taken care of. And uh, finally, to say that as leaders and organizations and keeping people's well-being in mind, it's not just about strategy, right? It's about me if I'm a leader. So it's about my stewardship as well. How I become a role model in exhibiting, let's say, for example, work-life balance, in creating safe spaces, how actively I manage stress. So I think, and I'm skewed heavily towards that, us leaders have to demonstrate much, much more than anything else to meet this objective of uh, overall well-being in the workplace. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Vikram, I have a suggestion over here before we go with that. See, we're going to break stigma tomorrow. So when we do that, let's not take away from today's bit. Let's try and understand today the challenges of the workplace and take up questions that relate to that. And possibly, I think you've got a couple of questions that you can point towards Mr. Sujendra, which is essentially towards how we can support mental well-being in the workplace. Right? I think there's something from Kumar DS that's over here. Right, and I think that's also a topic that Mr. Sujendra would like to talk about. Sujendra, one of the questions that's come out from the audience here is what specific resources does company offer to support mental health, and how can we access them when we are overwhelmed with work?
Yeah, absolutely. One is, good point. Uh, See, I think the definition of workplace, has changed, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. I'm sure all of you will agree that. And I heard one of my, co-speakers talking about, mental wellness, trying to look at it from home. So today, home is the new workplace. We're talking about the future of workspaces, the boundaries between home and workplace is getting blurred. Yeah, I know I'm talking this more from a IT industry point of view, but if you look at it, why did this so much of anxiety, mental wellness shoot up during the pandemic? Obviously, because there's a lot of pressure, in the society about their career aspiration, what's happening in the economy. So all this ultimately, take a toll on the mind, and that's where, the issues surface. So while companies have been grappling with it few years back, most of us were just looking at providing some health checkups and insurance. But today, the definition of mental well-being has kind of transformed. It's not only, the physical state of mind, it encompasses the emotional state and the social well-being. So all these, encompass, the mental well-being. And today organizations are investing huge because we looked at some statistics, and almost we know that 12 billion, days have been lost due to mental issues. So organizations like us are investing in huge because, by saving on that, the productivity takes a huge impact. So that's where, for example, if you look at what we are doing as an organization, we are looking at two, three things. One is kind of curating this as part of culture. And, I just heard, Sonia speak about the culture part. This culture has to start from the top, and leadership needs to prioritize this culture with effective and impactful communication. The investment which is required is, in terms of providing and giving the employees a framework where they can use this well-being kind of a infrastructure being available to them. It could be a EAP. I want to take our own example, what we are doing. We have a Wellness Corner app, which is provided free of cost, where the employees all have to do is just download and start using it. It's just not about diet consultation. It's just not about what food you're consuming. People can, in fact, have personal therapist counseling sessions. They can go in for diagnostic checks, wellness checks. So whole range of solutions being provided as part of this wellness solution. And I think this is so important investment for us because if I look at what is bothering the employees, one of the key things when we started assessing some of the personal distress calls, more than 30% of the calls are related to depression, anxiety, and the future of their career. And some of them are probably undergoing some issues at home. So all this, leads to, stress at the workplace. So we as an organization need to provide the employees with ecosystem where they can effectively, come out and make use of, the available infrastructure which is there, which would probably go ahead and build the future workforce for tomorrow. So, from my take, I think two, three key points that I want to summarize as an answer to the question: what resources is it required? Before resources, I think it's more important that we need a leadership sign off, buy-in, so that the culture of care is percolated. People have that, feel emotional security and support at their workplace. They feel, that, their career is always, thriving in a positive or going north, so that, they don't have to worry about a layoff or whatever. And the third and the most impactful thing is provide them an ecosystem where they can depend on the organization, in terms of the support or the framework that you provide, where they can get assistance, be it a EAP program, be it, health, wellness carnival or whatever. Those are some of the things that I would think, would go a long way in building the ecosystem from an organization standpoint for the overall mental well-being of our employees. Over to you, Sandesh.
Fantastic. I think absolutely. This thing, is there something that you want to use from the slide that's up here for yours?
Maybe, I can just reinforce, this culture of care and empathy because, to be honest, one of the things, when I looked at it, and I was also talking to a lot of, I was there at a wellness summit, maybe last week or so, and when I was speaking to people, one of the things which came out was, yeah, organization is investing heavily, on medical insurance. Organization is providing you gym membership. Organization is providing you yoga. What else is required? So, I think I heard one of my co-speakers talk about this. While, you can throw money, and ask them, to go get insurance, all that. I think the most important point is, I heard one of my co-speakers talk about it. It's also about, is my leadership team really concerned and bothered about the well-being of my employees? I think it starts from there, and everything is overarching, the sense of, whatever the points that I've noted, the sense of belonging or the social connection at work, the cultural values, being proactive, encouraging individuals to seek help. Unless we build that ecosystem, like one of the speakers was saying, people may not seek help. So we need to foster that culture, and we need to train our managers, to be more sensitive to the needs of the individuals. So that's my take on this, and obviously the culture of care. And more importantly, I have seen the outcome of this. If you start practicing this consistently, it leads to a lot of positivity and people celebrate it. I would see that as the outcome of, being caring and, showing empathy to the employees. So I'll
While
just
we're on this topic, I want to very quickly go across to Ayushi and check with Ayushi as to what she looks at in terms of leadership's position, as well as can leadership really make or break the workplace culture around mental health, and what role should leaders play in setting a positive example, and how would you think that they should go about doing it?
Definitely. I think leadership can make or break a workplace environment. And like every person who spoke before me pointed out, leading by example is the way to go. Like, for example, we can preach about mental health all we want, but until and unless I, as a young person, see a leader or, someone at a higher position implementing and practicing what they preach, I will be so scared to even talk about mental health. Like, for example, one thing that I would like to share is that Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, along with Yuval Noah Harari, the writer of the best-selling book *Sapiens*, right? All of them being queer men at like positions of enormous power has been so empowering for all my friends, including myself, because like I said, you can have mental health days, you can have period leave, but then if I am getting shamed or if I'm getting a side eye for, trying to avail that, then what good is that going to do? And I think yoga programs or even like emotional well-being session, I think these are important, but that's not it, right? Like the job does not end here. I think it starts there. So I really want like people in power of leadership to like talk about it and implement it. And even if especially it's true for like Gen Z employees, because like I'm sure a lot of people who are older than us have sort of like they have like a picture of what a Gen Z employee looks like. And so do we, right? Like we also feel like everyone who's older than us, they're never going to understand where we are coming from. They are never going to care about the things that we care for. And that is obviously not true. Like I'm just so, just happy to see everyone here talk about mental health so deeply and so passionately. So I think just leading by example. And another thing is that how do we break the stigma, right? Like there is so much stigma related to mental health. And for example, I am a Gen Z person, I'm a 20-year-old, and I have a medical history of depression and anxiety. Do I even disclose that? And if I do, will that make me unemployable? Like there should be clear mental health disclosures. And I think mental health along with depression, one of the leading causes of disability. And the fact that we had to convert it into like how many dollars we are losing every year for a lot of companies to even care about it, like that is just really sad. But I mean, as long as mental health is a topic on the table. But yeah, I think just like leading by example is the way to go. And one more thing is that policies, right? We have to take them from paper to practice. Like I think this is so true for like a lot of the policies passed by the government, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, all these ministries just passing policies day in and day out. But like, where is a system to check that are these policies being followed? Like students like the 20-year-old girl in Pune who died of work stress, that should not be the case. Students who just take their own lives in quota, that should not be the case. Like we have to make sure that policies are being implemented and there's a strict check to make sure that they are just doing what they're for, which is promoting mental well-being among students, employees, everyone.
Oh, fantastic. I think Vikram has a question for some people here. Go ahead, Vikram.
Yeah. Okay. I will take that question. Thank you, Harshad, for the question. Great question. Of course, we should do regular check-ins. In fact, in my organization, we even ask the people managers or team leads that at the end of every meeting, I mean, of course, if it at least once a month, you should take 10 minutes to just ask everybody how everybody is doing, or 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 just checking in on something which is not related to the deadlines, because while we understand that we have all of us have work priorities, and by no way saying that they are not a priority, but it is sometimes very, very necessary to check in. Not just that, also it is very important, like I said, to check in with people who is not in a direct work relationship, or it's not within your same team. It might seem difficult, but it will lead to your professional growth. And it is also important to talk to people who you may not know in office. I mean, other than a smile, to also develop those connections, because tomorrow you might not be feeling that great, and people are so conscious about not speaking up to their immediate team. So building those safety net. So once you build, there is always a ripple effect to ensure, I mean, just leading the way, Harshad, and to just role model it yourself, talking to people, asking them how they are doing, and also building those connections so that you have a safety net and you are a safety net for people is very, very important. Yeah. Sandesh, does that answer the question, you think?
Perfect.
Yeah.
I think it was fabulously put. And before, Vikram, before you go to your next question, because that question which you're going to put to Asma, I have a question for Asma before that, and you can follow it up with that. Asma, you see there are a lot of stressors, and we always keep talking about different stressors. In your opinion, what are the top 3 stressors that affect mental well-being at the workplace?
I think off late, I think it's job insecurity that is actually picking up, work environment. And I agree with Sujendra, what he said, work environment matters a lot. And last but not the least, I would say, I think care is something that we spoke about it, but I also try to put a word that even as an individual, it is so important for you also to develop a self-care, right? And I think peer pressure is creating so much of impact on all employees these days, largely who are going through this whole mental well-being, is that I was hired at the same time, he was hired at the same time. I need to match up my competency with X and I'm being measured with Y. I think it's all taking a toll on an individual. And as an HR leaders, I think we need to, and I completely agree with Sujendra as well, right? It's all top down. Can leadership emphasize on the ground that it's fine and not all fine individuals are same? So hence the performance could vary, but I think going back on performance, there is always a worry someone has in their head that, okay, if I'm not performing, if I'm not meeting my targets, will I be put up on PIP? Will post PIP, will I be asked to leave? Will I lose my job? I think there is so much that is brewing in their heads unnecessarily. This is uncalled for actually, because they're not talking to their upline. They're not taking a help from counseling sessions. They're not talking to their HR leaders. They're not talking to their peers. They're just assuming that I might be in the line. And as for me, I think what I have seen off late, Sandesh, is of course job insecurity, poor work environment, lack of recognition. Some of these are major detractors.
Perfect. Chetan Raj.
Okay, I think culture is a very big term. I mean, it could be multiple things. It could be a company culture, it could be a job culture, it could be a work environment, you name it. I think from an organization standpoint, one thing that comes out very clearly is, are we setting up clear priorities? Are we encouraging the organizations? I mean, I'm talking about my own organization and the organization that I've worked in the past as well. I think setting up clear priorities, encouraging open communication, saying that there is an environment, there is an open culture, you barge in, you talk about it, you don't need to worry about any filters. You are not going to get reprimanded just because you came and escalated about someone else. I think those regular check-ins, flexi work practices, right? Yeah, I think of late there is in the newspapers, there are on this Instagram reels everywhere that, beyond work hours, we should not call our subordinates or so and so for work-related activities. I think that is being practiced on the ground. And as HR leaders, as a leadership on the organization, when we hire managers or we do an orientation to the managers, one thing I think that opens up clearly is, we tell them, refrain asking someone to come and work on Saturdays, refrain calling somebody beyond work hours, refrain calling them over the weekends because it is not right. I mean, let's respect their personal life as well. Let's respect the boundaries. If it is so urgent, then, we'll try and figure out as to what we need to do. But let's try to refrain until unless the individual is open enough to volunteer himself saying that, okay, I'll come and work over the weekend. The kind of work life I have and my team has, we end up working over the weekends. But we do take a vote from the people. Are you okay to work on Saturdays? Is your family okay to work on Saturdays? There is a work pressure, but are you comfortable? Unless if someone comes up and says that, hey, you know what, I have something else, I would want people to do it. Fair enough. We'll go with someone else. If someone else also has a similar problem, then we will not have those weekend schedule at all. I think today, the most important one thing that I would like to summarize is leading by example is utmost important. As a leader, let's demonstrate healthy work habits, taking breaks, prioritizing self-care. And I am a big fan of promoting self-care. And I keep telling this to my team and the larger team that we hire as well, that, the charity begins from home. So you start working on your own self-care. The other things, we will set a positive example for the team as well. I mean, share workloads. All these things are making an impact today on the ground to ensure that, one individual is not completely burdened on their respective targets or work life. That's what I would leave it with.
Super. So Sarah, when you look at it, and this is towards you, you look at lots of the data that I showed you right up front, and then we say stress affects almost 89% of India's workforce. So what do you think are some of the practical and quick to implement stress relief techniques that employees can use to maintain on a daily basis to maintain their mental health?
Thank you, Sandesh. Thank you so much, everyone. A very good afternoon to everyone. It's been lovely listening to all of you. And I really like what Asma just said, charity begins at home, right? And if you are looking at allowing yourself to be more empowered with your own stress, then you need to do self-care. So while I was preparing, I was thinking of what could I, really focus on small, important aspects. So I'm going to just talk about the ABC of how you can positively impact your mental wellness. So A goes for awareness. Awareness of three things. Awareness first of your breath. So a quick thing to do is just become present of your breath. I think one thing that people really forget to do is something that we live with every moment of our life, which is our breath. We know so little of that. In fact, in places where I go, I say, how many breaths per minute are you breathing? And some people have said 72, which is our heartbeat, right? So we need to know how many breaths per minute, because that will indicate to you what stress level are you at now. If you are anywhere between about 20, I would say 18 and above breaths per minute, your stress levels are pretty high, right? So it's very important, become aware of your breath. And a simple thing to do every day when you feel, once in the morning, afternoon, evening, is to focus on your breath and just allow deep breaths and become more, let the breath become more natural. So focus on your breath, become aware of it. Second, focus on your emotions. And emotions are very important to all of us. We get caught by them, and sometimes we get derailed by them. So we need to know. So one thing be aware of is identify the emotion. A lot of people understand and are aware of anger, but everything else is, how are you? I'm okay. How are you? I'm good. So I would really, invite people to start identifying what emotion they're going through. The moment they identify the emotion, just be present to it. An emotion has a very short life. It will not stay too long if we just become present to it. So be present to that emotion and saying, I'm angry right now. Okay, I'm really anxious right now. So just become present, become aware of which emotion, become present to it. And that's all the emotion needs. What happens to us is we build the story with that emotion. And then we don't want to let go of that story. And that's what happens. It becomes a loop, which then becomes something which really troubles us. So just become present to your emotion. And the third thing that I'd like you to become aware of is your thoughts. An average person with average stress has 50,000 thoughts a day. What are we doing with our thoughts? Right? And funnily, 90% of those thoughts are yesterday's thoughts. So thoughts is the basic foundation of how we can shift our energy systems, our energies to build ourselves. So become aware of what thoughts are you thinking on a regular basis. And it's not about deleting, negative thoughts. It's not going to happen. People think, oh, we need to delete, we need to stop negative thoughts. That's not going to happen. And we don't have to push ourselves to shift negative thoughts to immediately positive thoughts, because that requires a lot of energy also. So, people get tired when they say, I have negative thoughts, but I don't have energy to move to any positive thought. So you don't really have to. Just become aware of what thoughts you're having. And when you're having a negative thought, just acknowledge it. Right? So become aware. So aware of BET. Take a bet on it. B for breath, E for emotions, T for thoughts. That's awareness. Take a bet on it. You can definitely shift your mental awareness at that point. The B stands for, so A, B, C. B stands for bring freshness every day. Now, I loved what Blas Khan's said about, I have a meeting every morning with myself. Have a 5-minute meeting with yourself before you start your day. What we start our day with is WhatsApp and Insta and all these things. And already we have the psychological fingerprints of so many different people on our lives. We have started our day with other people's lives. I recommend that you start it with your life, right? So start a meeting, have a meeting, a 5-minute meeting with yourself. Start your day with yourself. And in that day, have a pick me up, a mantra for yourself for every day. Create a mantra. It could be, for me this week was just do it now, because I found myself procrastinating a lot last week. So I created my mantra and I said, just do it now. So every time I'm procrastinating, I'm bringing in my mantra with a lot of, gusto and saying, okay, just do it now. Right? So have a mantra for yourselves. So bring freshness. Freshness can also be brought through some movement. And a lot of people who don't like physical movement, who don't like to go to the gym, I'm talking of those people, is just stand up while you're speaking, on the phone. Move, when you go, take a lot more breaks. Go to the coffee machine, don't have the coffee. Walk back, right? It's going to the coffee machine and having the coffee that is, is something that stops you from or increases your stress. So walk to the coffee machine, but walk back without having it and say, yay, I did that, right? And very simple things that you can do every day is, just stretching out your hands, your fingers, while you're looking at things. Wriggle your toes and your fingers. So let's all of us do it here. Yes, recommending all our, just doing, stretching out our fingers, wriggle your toes if you can, wriggle your toes, because our hands and our toes hold a lot of tension and stress. And the next area which holds a lot of tension and stress is our neck, right? So just moving these three areas can release it, keep releasing it. So keep doing that on a regular basis. So A, awareness, B, bring in freshness, and I'm going to leave it with the last one, which is C, connectedness. And very beautifully, some of you have said it, esteemed panel speakers have said it, connectedness is very important. Now, connectedness means connect and build a community for yourself, a community of people who will listen to you without going and gossiping about you, right? A safe net, as someone said. Build a community. But very important, build your community at home. A lot of us focus a lot on the workplace, forget our community at home. And when we come back, we carry all of it there. And then we go back, we carry all of our home stress back. So it's build the community at home. Talk to people, speak to people, acknowledge your family, acknowledge your team members. So it's acknowledge, smile, appreciate, and bring in gratitude. These four things build in connectedness. It's not just at the workplace, but it's at home also. So smile often, friends. I believe in smiling. I believe smile can really soften the body. When we smile, and I'm just
I totally agree.
Yeah, I started practicing this at night. I smile and sleep. And I realized that when I'm smiling, I'm actually in the beginning, I find a lot of tension, a lot of stress, and I'm not able to smile sometimes. But I force that smile and slowly my whole body relaxes. So I'm practicing that now and I'm enjoying it, So every night when I sleep, I smile. And that brings in a lot of, a lot of softness to the body is what I can say. So yes, and I do believe it's imperative that leaders show the way. It is, leadership is very important. People love to follow others and they love to follow the leaders. So leadership is imperative. Thank you, Sandesh. I hope.
Awesome, sir. I think fantastic inputs from you. And in fact, with your last statement which you made, I know a couple of people over here, one yourself included, but Asma and Reena, I think, for them, smile, humor, and laughter is a part of every 50 seconds of their life, not even a minute, right? And
you
when
bet
I have
it's
a conversation
very difficult for me to hold on to my smile.
When I have a conversation with Asma, she'll tell me a joke with such a serious face. And even I have that same habit as well. So, sometimes we're sparring at one another. And Reena is one who has a perpetual smile, even in the worst of the situations, and she handles it with so much of aplomb. Amazing. I don't know if it's a woman thing, and maybe I'm a woman actually, but I don't know if it's a... Yeah, I have a question for Reena and then for Sujendra. And basically, this is about, HR's influence on mental well-being. HR definitely has a larger role in shaping mental health policies. They are also the custodian of all policies within an organization. They drive company culture. They offer support. HR departments are basically the key players in implementing various innovations or initiatives across the organization. Some of them are like these mental health days, counseling sessions that they have, promoting culture of wellness, and the period day, and so on. So many things that that keep coming about. But Reena, I have a question for you on this. How can the HR teams promote counseling services and mental health and support the employees through these offerings, especially because very often employees in a labor-intensive economy like India have a heavy fear, like Asma said, of losing their job. If does the organization, do they have the fear of saying, oh, if I express my concern, am I going to be looked at differently? Is it going to affect my promotion? Is it going to affect my performance appraisal? Do I have the ecosystem to actually come about? So my question is, how can HR teams promote counseling? And before even promoting counseling, how can you encourage people to come forward for counseling?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Sandesh. I've been listening to all the panel speakers, and it's so nice to hear all of them. And a lot of things that we resonate to each other, and that's the best thing. I think we like being in HR, and that's why possibly all of us are there in this panel today. Well, I'll speak about what we do here in Keolis, and wellness is very important for us, wellness and well-being, because we work in an environment where it is 365 days plus. We deal with the life of people. We run around, carry around 5.5 lakh passengers in a day, which is huge, and it's all the time, whether it is operations or maintenance. The members, the employees are under tremendous pressure, stress to do things right, and we cannot afford to do anything that can go wrong with us in terms of either it is operations or maintenance. And hence, what we have tried to do is we have our values. Our values are we care, we commit, and we imagine. And what we have tried to do is we try to design our people engagement initiative based on our values. When I say we care, we focus on wellness and well-being, and that's something which is on the topmost priority for me in terms of doing everything that is possible, that we stand for caring our employees, and it's not just a lip service. We mean what we say, and we also do it religiously. And one such initiative which is very close to my heart is an HR clinic, which I run. And I talk to people in terms of we roll out calendars every second and third week of the month, and people take appointments to meet me, and that's where it's something that they can talk their heart out to me. And I don't do it in my room purposefully, that I don't want them to feel that they have come to meet the CHRO. I go to their workplace, whether it is a station, whether it is a depot or any place where they work. I go and meet them at their workplace. So that's where they feel that yes, they're more comfortable at their place of work than they coming to me to discuss. So that's what we try and do it. And I sit and talk to them, have a cup of tea, coffee, and talk to them in terms of what is that is troubling them, what is that they would like to talk to me. It could be something very personal about their family, somebody not keeping well. It could be something on the professional front that they are not getting an opportunity, which they feel that they have the right, but still they are not able to get. There could be something on something they're very, very scared about, and then they would like to speak. So this is something which I do it as part of our counseling program, where we do it, we call it as HR clinic. We have multiple type of counselings that we do it, and we try and promote it. It's not just HR only takes the lead and does it. We have multiple type of programs that we run, and they have been quite successful. We had a QO buddy. When somebody enters the organization, goes through the induction training program, and then when they are there in the main line, they feel left out, and they feel that they are very new to the place, and they get scared. So we introduced something called QO buddy. And QO Buddy was quite successful for last 2 years, and this QO Buddy concept is now been renamed as Colleague Program. This was liked by our group CHRO lady, and she said, let's call it as a Colleague Program and roll it out across the Keolis group. So Colleague is something where anyone who wants to be a voluntary colleague or a buddy for a new joinee, they give their register their names with us, and we ensure that they connect with each other, and the colleague, the mentee or a colleague, they reach out to each other, and then there's a lot of counseling or a mentoring or a coaching or whatever you name it, that happens between both of them, and we do get feedback once in 3 months to see how it works out. That's another way. And we also foster a lot of mentoring sessions, per se, formal mentoring sessions, where we have workforce for women, and we have created WOW champions, those who lead our women empowerment initiative. So we have trained our workforce for women champions, we call them as WOW champions, on how do you mentor. And during this mentoring session also, there is a lot of a little bit of counseling also happens. So there are different type of formats that we have found out in terms of doing it, and we make sure that our HR team, those are the HR business partners for different units, they also go and meet our employees, because if you do it very, very formal, sometimes things that they go through will not come out. So we try and make it a little more informal, that yes, they have gone on a visit and they try and catch hold of some people and then try and find out what's happening. So those informal sessions sometimes have got us the best of the input that we would require and try to help. And with these inputs, we have also got to know that somebody is going through real mental stress, and we have put them for a counseling session with the hospital doctors, and we try to do that. So those inputs have been has been taken, whether formally or informally, have been recorded, and necessary action steps that needs to be taken on whatever actionable points that's comes out has been taken up and been monitored, been followed up, and try to see that there is an impact of what we are doing is being monitored. So that's how we have been doing, Sandesh.
Sure, super. And I have a question to follow up on that. When you have these sessions, and I'm also going to come to you with a personal question afterwards, if it's okay with you. I'll take your permission before I ask you that. But
Sure.
Before that, what signals do you actually pick up during these counseling sessions or the HR clinic, the Cure Buddy? Do you capture these signals? Are you able to identify that there are potential mental wellness challenges that could, stem from there? And how do you go about addressing those? Do we have a mechanism for that, or are you trying to build a mechanism around it?
See, it's happening now, as I told you, most informally, that we have tried to capture it. We do it at basic Excel and try to follow it up in terms of what actions that we are doing and how are we trying to keep a tab about whatever actions that we have taken. Is it going to help? And then we have also connected with the respective managers to find out. We did this initiative for people, those who came to us with problems. Has it been useful? Like somebody who was really going through a mental stress, we put him for a psychiatric session and try to find out after 3 months whether the person is a little better now and is he doing well at work or not. And we try and see that those people are also moved out from a core safety critical role to a non-safety critical role, so that there is no stress for them to handle those roles.
Fantastic. And how are they receptive to that? When you move them from that role, did they feel that I'm being moved because of this? And does that also create a challenge for other employees to disclose, or how do you deal with this?
No, these certain cases we have not disclosed to other employees except the manager or the CXO of that particular department knowing about it, because we don't want employee to go through type of discussions.
So the positioning is a very important part.
Yeah,
right?
we don't disclose it. We do not disclose it purposely, so that we wanted to keep it confidential. Before we move the person from a safety critical role to a non-safety critical role, we do a lot of counseling. Like, for example, that person who has gone through this would have been had the meeting with us at least 3 to 4 times before we take this decision, because he has to be personally convinced that he's not okay and he needs to get into. So sometimes acceptance becomes very difficult, though they come and share that this is what I'm going through. But then when you start helping them with a treatment or some sort of intervention that you would like to do, accepting that, and that becomes a little challenging. So there's a lot of counseling that happens, and sometimes we have also involved the family, because it is not just the person who is going through, the family also needs to know So we involve the family to bring them into confidence that whatever we are trying to do it as an organization point of view, it's going to be a win-win for the family, for the employee, and for the organization at large.
Okay. So Reena, I'm going to ask you a very personal question, and you can choose not to answer it by saying I decline. But I have known you for a long time, and I've also seen you through a really tough phase that you went through, right?
Yeah.
And during that phase, I also saw you spending hours at your office while you were working with one of the organizations that you represented. And how did you? What was your mental state at that point in time? How were you able to cope with it? Because you must have been your own counselor when you went through with all of that. And what was it that you told yourself, and how did you go about managing yourself and your mind?
I had to first accept the fact that I'm going through the toughest situation of my life. And then I didn't want to fail by actually going through the treatments. I said, this is a testing time for me, and let me accept it with grace, whatever it is. And to accept with grace, the first thing that I wanted to tell myself that if I involve myself by diverting on what pain that I'm going through, focusing at the work, possibly that would be the best solution for myself. And it really helped well. And that's why I try to spend more time at work than focusing on whatever I was going through. And it really helped me in terms of not thinking about the physical illness that I had, than thinking about the challenges that I have to face it at work. So that gave me at least a change of mind in terms of focusing on something that can be more meaningful than what is going through. The treatment will anyhow go through its own phase, but then for me, if I'm looking at work, it would definitely help. But at the same time, I would like to say, like a few of you have mentioned it, having good friends really works. I mean, I'm blessed to have good friends for life, and the motivation for that I got from all of them at that point of time was something which I will never forget in my life. So everyone stood by and said that this is just a phase and it will go through, and exactly that has happened. And the encouragement in terms of the work that I did, the work organization also played a very critical role in terms of supporting that. Yes, this is something, and it happened to me at a very crucial phase where I moved into the organization just 1 month after which I got diagnosed, and I was not sure whether the organization is going to support in that case. So organization
Correct.
came very forward in terms of saying that, okay, whatever has happened, we are there with you to support. And I joined the work when after my operation, and I continued to work even my chemo and radio and all of that. So I think the colleagues, the organization, the friends, and your own self, that yes, I will not give it up. I mean, that's what that is what I followed, and it worked well for me.
Thank you very much, Reena, for sharing. And I think it's been one of those stories I tell a lot of people without really referring you, but I'm glad we have this. But Sujendra, I have a question for you, and essentially because we've had this discussion earlier, and also I've seen the kind of work that you've been putting in. So in your opinion, what are the critical HR policies that we need to implement to effectively support mental well-being in the workplace? And how can these policies be included or integrated into daily practices?
Sure. Good question, because the Indian labor law doesn't have a framework, to look at control, measure, mental illness. So that becomes very tricky for employers because most of the employees start focusing on productivity. At least today, I'm glad that companies have recognized that, if you want productivity, it is just not about throwing money. You'll have to engage with the employee. So it starts from there, so companies have started engaging with people. However, more from a policy standpoint, I would like to share what some of the trends, organizations are following. One is, it is simple, not really complex. The vacation policy, I heard one of my co-speakers talking about, taking time off. Now, if you look at it, we know that, it is the millennials who are mostly working, and a lot of them are quite young. The average age group, I'm talking about specifically to the IT industry, is about 25, 26 years. So a lot of them, think, they can dedicate too much of time in their careers because they want to grow up, they want to achieve whole lot of things. While personal ambition is perfectly fine, it's about giving them guidance as they shouldn't burn out themselves. Now, we don't have a policy to avoid burning out, but what companies are essentially focusing on today is, for example, we here in our organization have 22 days of time off given in a year. Now, most of them, there are holidays given for festivals and, Saturday, Sunday is a holiday and all that. People generally, try to have those leaves accumulated and, they want to either encash it or whatever. So one of the things that we here as HR have brought in is we are regularly, talking to employees to see and also encourage managers to provide time off break to employees so that employees make use of these breaks, come back rejuvenated. I think that's extremely important. Be it, if you go into the root cause of suicides and all that, it's, workplace stress, they haven't taken time off, they haven't rejuvenated, and there is no time, that they're thinking about something else. So essentially, look at providing them time off, have conversations with their managers, provide them an ecosystem. One is that, from a policy standpoint. Second policy, which is not reinforceable is preventive checks and, encourage employees, to use counseling and chat sessions. Today, one of the things is, even though, we talk about mental well-being, how many of us in this room or how many of us here, if we have gone through an anxiety, depression, do we go and tell our friends, society that, hey, I have gone through, an anxiety, I'm going through a depression? It is still a stigma. Although we are talking about it, we are encouraging people to talk about it, it is still a taboo. People have inhibition. So the best thing to do is build an ecosystem for them so that they still make use of those chat sessions, still talk to a counselor, but that is still anonymous. So we have experimented, using this with tech so that, employees can have employees can have uh, chat sessions, with their counselor, which is not known to anyone. And HR encourages, the usage of this. It could be a chat, it could be a counseling, and it all happens without HR not being aware of it, but yet providing an ecosystem for employees to leverage on this. And surprisingly, I want to share some stats. Over the last 12 months, when we introduced, there's some noise in the background. May I request if
Yeah,
somebody is not looking to go on?
muted that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So surprisingly, when we introduced the wellness app, which has integrated EAP, wherein they could have personalized chat sessions and counseling sessions, almost 28 to 30% of my employees started using that, and that I saw from the usage. But before that, not even a single employee had walked up to us and said they are going through something in their lives. They wanted an external facilitator counseling. So, which means it is there, with the complexity of life, dynamically changing. There's whole lot of social pressure, work pressure, managing, at home. So, which means I believe, that the workplace and the homes have got lot more complex, while that is so, we have to ease it out, and I think technology is the biggest tool that can be leveraged, and we have been using it very, very specifically at our organization. It is not reinforceable by any policy, but encouraging to use that would definitely go a long way. Apart from, the culture standpoint of creating ecosystem of care and empathy. So these are few things that I thought to share off in terms of, uh, having more mental well-being for our employees and our ecosystem. Over to you, Sandesh.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you very much. And in fact, as a follow-up of that, Ayushi, I have a question for you. And a lot of employee feedbacks that come in, and like we were just listening, you need to have an environment where you're going to have anonymity in terms of the way we take feedback, or we need to have technology that helps us to put this feedback. And Sujendra highlighted, how uh, this needs to be projected to the employees as well. But at the end of the day, feedback is going to come back from the employees. And how can HR leverage this feedback and data to continually improve mental health programs and ensure that they're meeting the needs of the workforce?
Yeah. So, starting with the data, right? Like, obviously, I'm a psychology student, so I'm just going to list the things, right? Which are like, it needs to be anonymous, it needs to have consent and all of that, right? And after that, we can use the data to identify what problems your employees are facing. And then you can divide these problems into like various categories. Like, for example, someone in let's say social media department or like finance department will have like diverse problems that they are facing. Like, for example, in sales, right, there's obviously so much pressure, and you have to like meet the deadlines and all of that, as compared to like social media, I would say. So it can help us sort of understand what department is facing which problem and how to better cater to that problem. Another thing is that it can also help you sort of modify the work hours. Like, for example, if you find out that like 80% of your employees just struggle a lot with deadline, or 80% of your employees are saying that they could use just flexible working hours, and within that it will also help you to understand, is this problem department specific, is it gender specific. It can actually help you get down to the bottom of it, and then you can create a very personalized mental health plan. I know it's going to take a lot of resources and time, but in the long run it will be worth it. It can also help you create a specialized, like tailored plan according to each department or like a specific problem that your employees are facing, and you can implement that, and that will yield a lot of results. And a lot of people they would rather prefer like counseling treatments or like therapy online. So if you could tie up with like it on, and there are so many organizations out there who do virtual therapy and who do corporate wellness programs. If you could tie up with that and somehow embed that into your wellness program, that would be amazing. Another thing you could do is have therapy under your employee health care insurance, like therapy, antidepressants, all of these other things. And those were my 2 cents on that.
Oh, perfect. So what you're saying is not just a one hat fits all, but maybe a domain specific, a department specific policy would possibly take you a long way. But I have a question on that as well. So looking at departments and people work so closely with one another, if I have a very I wouldn't say diametrically opposite, but a fairly tangential policy to a particular department, how will that play in terms of how the other departments see it? For example, I might say, okay, for the sales department, I'm going to give them a flexible working environment, and I'm going to say, you guys start working from home, and then you get to market and come back and generate the business. And everybody else is going to be here on time, on the dot, clocking with the thumb impression, the eye retina scan, or whatever is your facial recognition, whatever is your attendance tracking mechanism. And they have a very rigid hour. And do you see that also creating an imbalance that wasn't there before, or do you think that would? How do you want to address that?
No, definitely. Like that could also be like sort of a discrimination, but I believe that would come under positive discrimination because, once again, like I'm only saying that we need to make a tailored plan for department because, for example, whatever department, right? Like you take a survey, and if it's showing that employees could really benefit from like flexible work hours or even like, so for example, one thing that LinkedIn does that I really like is that they offer a rest up week. Like once every year, right? Where the entire company is they take like the week off, so that there's no, like you said, there's no like oh, so like they are taking a week off and we can't have that. So it really depends on like what is the result or the findings of your survey. But I do believe like in order to cater some of the departments best, it's not yeah, like that's something we could do.
Okay. So there are a lot of questions that are in here. Sorry, Asma, you had something to say? There are a lot of questions that are coming in here. Vikram, would you like to step in with these questions? I think there's a plethora of questions that are in here. We've got about half an hour on our hands, and I'd also like Somdev to come in for another topic. When he's there, we'll immediately address that. Yeah, so a couple of things. When we look at employee policies, and we're also looking at employee assistance programs, right? A lot of people have spoken about employee assistance programs. In fact, Asma spoke about it, Sujendra spoke about it, Shramona spoke about it, and Reena spoke about employee assistance programs. The words that they use are different. One of them used the buddy system, the others using various other mechanisms. Now, how effective do you think these programs are? How do you see them plan out? You've seen them from within an organization, and you've seen them from without as well. So how do you see them pan out, Somdev?
A great question, Sandesh. And when I respond to that, let me quickly tell you some work, as in, so more than responding to that with a subjective description, let me give you some work that's happening in the Indian context. So, for example, there is this tool called mHealth, which is an AI-driven health app that companies like TCS are using for wellness and health monitoring, and which integrates leadership's active participation in well-being programs. That's one, that's in the context of modeling healthy behaviors. Now, I also spoke about creating a safe space for dialogue. There is a tool called Your Dost, which is a popular online counseling platform that has partnered with firms like Ola and Aditya Birla to provide a safe space for employees. Third, proactive stress management. HDFC Bank runs a monthly wellness series that includes mental health check-ins and stress management workshops. While this may not be necessarily in the realm of EAP, if I may use that acronym, but it's about what organizations in India are doing, and the ones that I named already, pretty well-known ones at that, and I'm sure lots of others too are following suit. Now, in this, HDFC Bank's leadership participates in the session, setting an example. There is a tool called Mindhouse, which is now called Shift, which offers corporate meditation and wellness programs, helping companies like ICICI Prudential Life run stress relief sessions. I spoke about flexibility in work arrangements. Slack is widely used by companies like Swiggy, and I'm sure all of us know IT services and products companies use it big time. It does allow for managing work, especially the flexible work arrangements, very effectively. Pioneering well-beings and team goals. Firms like Reliance Industries, I shouldn't say firms, conglomerate like Reliance Industries, they have pioneering wellness programs, which are corporate wellness programs. And finally, I spoke about empathy and emotional intelligence. And there again, we have Coach Arohan, which is an Indian platform which offers emotional intelligence coaching for corporate leaders. So all that I wanted to say is, with mental health and emotional well-being, and especially that to do with the workplace becoming extremely critical these days, there's a lot of work that's happening. How effective they are, unfortunately, I don't have data on that, but I am glad to see that there is so much work that's happening. And then we heard Asma, we heard Shramona, we heard Reena talk about their organizations. So yeah, there's a lot of work that's certainly happening. How effective? I don't have an answer yet. I'm hoping they are.
Right. So Shramona, Asma, and Reena, how do you measure the effectiveness of your AEPs and also your other wellness programs and initiatives that you're taking?
See, if I have to talk about the colleague program that we are running, which was QBuddy, we have a measurement tool in place where we do assessment of things are working well, not well, through multiple sources. One is the employee who is going through this. We take an anonymous feedback from the employee who is part of this program. Plus, the line managers also give a feedback about if this is working out or not. And based on that, we do provide rewards and recognition as a monthly rewards and recognition program to the employees, those who come forward as a QBuddy or a colleague for us. So what we have tried to get information is when things comes to surface in terms of whether they take assistance or not. But few things are definitely coming to the surface in terms of we getting to know what is working out well, what is not working out well, and what is the things that we need to do. So that's where we are trying to take some actions, and it could not be a foolproof plan as of now, but it has shown as results in terms of, like, if I have to talk about numbers, initially 2 years back, if I have to throw some numbers, we used to have heavy attrition and absenteeism both before we could launch these programs. The reason being they were feeling burnt out, and they felt that this being a train operator, because they are engineers and they come and join as a train operator, they feel that there is no career progression for them, and that's where they would run away from doing what they used to do it. We thought, and then we got feedbacks in terms of saying that we feel that there's no one, and they're only looking at the tracks, because as a train operator, you need to run the train for continuous 6 to 8 hours shift, and then of course they will have breaks in between. But then they feel that they have been not feeling good by this. So we tried to come out. These are some of those feedbacks that we have got, and try to work on that. One, on the career progression, to see that if they cannot just be train operator for ages, and every two years we give them a progression to become either get into a station operations role or get into a maintenance role. So there is a change of what they are doing, and that reduces the stress level.
And I like one of your policies as well, Reena. In fact, when I spoke to your managing director as well, I realized that the people you let go from your organization to other organizations who want to hire them at possibly better salaries, you let go of your best employees, and you don't halt. Or I think it's a fabulous way to recognize your people, and it also gives a lot of emphasis in terms of how robust your own internal training mechanism is, because you have confidence that you'll fill up that talent very quickly. Right? And amazing.
We do not do a lateral hire at all. We we hire at the entry level and build them to grow in the organization, and that's how we have been doing, and it has been successful. I mean, we had the very difficult time in the month of February, where there is a new metro line which came up in Riyadh, took 65 of our top performers.
Right.
And we didn't get shaked, because we ensured that we have the talent pool in-house, and we build our capabilities in terms of making sure that our internal talent pool raises up and could handle it without any jerk that we had to manage. So these are some of these practices that we have internally got. I mean, I got the information from the programs that we have done, and these feedbacks have been the real feedbacks which helped us to build some processes, build some best practices which could retain our talent. And I was talking about attrition. Our attrition used to be 33% in 2022, and now it is hardly 12%. So I mean, that's how we could bring it down. In terms of our absenteeism, we are number one. I mean, there's hardly any absenteeism that we find in our organization, which is 0.35%, which is like the best in our cure list group. At least I can say. I have not benchmarked with other competition, but within the group, within our own subsidiaries, we are at the best, at the top. So these are some of the things which has happened, and these counseling programs, these personal connect programs, the managers talking to the people down the line, we going and talking to them once in a month. I make sure that I touch base with each of my business units, go and talk to them. Not any formal meeting, just to have a chit chat and talk to them, make them feel good, and in terms of understanding what they're doing, being part of small little things that they do, and encourage. I think encouragement is something everyone looks for, and we have built our rewards and recognition program in such a way that We have sport awards, we have employee of the month, safety champion, so many of those which keeps happening, and people look forward to competing among themselves and trying to be the best version of them. So these are small little things which have shown results, and that's what I can talk about.
Sure. There are a lot of questions waiting for you. Vikram is ready with them. I think a plethora of questions aimed at each of you. So Vikram, please go ahead. Is it all the tough ones come to you, Asma?
Oh, yeah, bring it on. Thank you so much. I think this it's a great question, and it is common for everyone. And when a couple of minutes back when I spoke about it, how do we balance this whole piece of prioritizing mental well-being, without sacrificing our performance? I think it's we need to keep talking to ourselves, saying that it's fine for us not to be a top performer always. Yeah, there is somebody who will be a north point in the team. Not necessarily the whole team will be a north point, but doesn't mean that you sacrifice or compromise on your own mental well-being. Having said that, I think it's very important, and we keep talking about it. I think it's our leaders who needs to give that comfort to the team, saying that, hey, you know what, we are one team. It's fine. You're not able to scale up, or you're not able to come to or meet those targets. I would not use these words because sometimes it has a negative connotation. So it's fine to say that let's, as a team, put together and excel than it is individual versus the team. I think that's very, very important, and hence encouraging open communication. It's utmost important, right? Regular check-ins, having one-on-one with the larger teams or with your respective team member to discuss progress, roadblocks, support that you need, challenges that you're facing, how as a leader or as a manager I can come forward and support you and walk across to you to meet your targets. I think that is very, very important. And mind you, you won't be able to reach your metrics if you're facing some roadblocks on the ground and you need some support from your leadership. So having an open communication is very, very important. Set your priorities very clearly, that this is how you need to achieve your goals. If you're having any difficulty in understanding your priorities, do have a conversation with your respective supervisor. Talk about it, because without having those conversations, it's going to be extremely, extremely difficult for someone to manage your mental well-being versus your work pressure. I mean, I think that is what I would leave it with, because some time even I have gone through this, the team has gone through it, but holding on to it, it's very, very important. Not losing your emotions, not losing your anxiety over it. And of course, peer pressure, if you can keep that aside, I think you will excel well. Every individual is different from each parameter. Please do not compare yourself with the others. You're good at what you are. Someone else is good in something else the person does. So let's not compare that and have the pressure on yourself to excel well. That is where I leave it with.
Sure. So Jendra, would you like to respond as well or comment on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think she touched upon the core points. Asma, absolutely right. I completely agree with you. By the way, Sandesh, I think the presentation is still being shared. You could actually stop sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things in today's corporate world is about performance. People, go through a lot of distress at workplace, and especially, and I want to share that I have noticed that the months, that when you are doing the performance appraisal, it could be March, April, or whatever, those months, the anxiety related calls take a spike. Now, why does that happen? I'm not a clinical psychologist, but I have some data. I am a HR person, and all I can do is interpret the data. So that tells me that there is something which is cooking in the minds of people because they're anxious to get feedback. Now, that is where Asma's point is extremely important as to what are you doing, in terms of messaging at the workplace through the managers, and culture plays a extremely important step. Now, if you have the culture of, terminating people immediately based on their performances, yeah, obviously, the messaging is wrong, then there's a negative culture being curated. People are worried that if their rating takes a dip, then it could potentially hit chances of their employment, promotion, compensation, whatever. So they are highly anxious. So that is where I think we as HR need to step in, need to look at, if there is a bad performance. Now, it's also about tolerance of performance. Now, why will you tolerate bad performance? Is it for the skill related issue, or is it for the attitude related issue? Now, I think, from an HR standpoint, skill is something which we can develop, which we can train people. So if somebody is struggling to catch up with a skill, they go through a PIP process so that there is a skill improvement. And as organization, I'm sure a lot of my HR colleagues out here, the PIP, is frightening, but it's about, helping the person to, do that skill development over that 3 months or, 90 days, whatever is the time frame in the respective organization. We are tolerant because we want to give an opportunity to the individual so that he can develop the skill and there is second opportunity. But what for which there is zero tolerance is about the attitude.
Yeah.
Somebody is really good, but he has a very bad attitude, then it will not be tolerated. So what I'm talking is from a HR lens, but what goes on to the ground is little different. But we, as HR has conscience keepers, we are the chief listening officers of the organization. We need to curate the content that's okay. Sometimes your performance dips. I have seen cases where the performance takes a dip because the person is going through a divorce. He's having a family issue, right? So you can be inhuman and say, I'm not able to give you a second opportunity, but we as HR, if you know the background, I think that is where we come in, do the counseling, help the person, give him one more window so that he rejuvenates, he comes back, he comes back. And I've seen cases where people have become star performers once they're able to go through that curve. So I think that's where we as HR, have a pivotal role to play. I heard Reena also talking about those, in-house sessions with employees. That's the window to get to know people personally as well, to understand what's happening in their personal lives. Yeah, maybe, as organizations, we grow big, we cannot be there everywhere. Managers become the HR for their teams, and we have a collective responsibility, to take care of our people. And that's where the culture becomes extremely important as to what is the messaging. Are you having the culture to nurture people, to take care of them? If that message is rightly passed, a lot of these cases, can be handled with extreme maturity, and you see people come back, and there is that resilience in them to prove that they are not bad performers, but they are something who can actually, when their walls are their back, when they are actually going through a downtrend, they can actually make a comeback. So the culture of resilience is also extremely important. And I think we should start demonstrating that in our respective organizations. It's top down, all these days, but now people are talking about, is it percolating from the ground? Let the ground level managers start.
I'll just add one line to what Sujendra is saying. I'll just add one line, and this is what currently we are doing, and I'm practicing this as well within my team. I think continuous feedback and adaptation, it assess the effectiveness of workload management and well-being initiatives, both put together. And an individual, just a feedback for the individual is be receptive to feedback and work on the feedback. I think it goes hand in hand.
Absolutely. So, just summing it up, yes, there is culture of care, empathy, and the messaging is also about resilience. What is that we can tolerate? That is not told, but people get a sense of it. So that's extremely important as to what gets resonated on the ground. That's my take on this, Sandesh. Over to you and Vikram.
Fantastic. Vikram, go ahead. Romana.
Can you please repeat the last bit of the question? Okay. Thank you so much for the question. So firstly, when we look at long-term strategies and the cause of stress, it is also important to identify the kind of the jobs, because every organization has a diverse set of jobs and each job has a different kind of stress attached to it. Secondly, resource planning and resource allocation is something that all companies should really look at closely, and then looking at the business objectives that I think strategic planning of the business is very closely tied to the deliverables, the deadlines, and then also building a transparency around it. So a lot of the times when we give employees some targets, it could be to HRs, could be to the people in sales, we need to present a bigger picture so that even people feel like they are a part of the big picture, rather than working in silos and just telling you to do your job and then not doing anything about it. That is from the business part of it. The secondly is, of course, like Somdev, Asma, everyone spoke. It's also about building a culture of open conversations, role modeling. And of course, all of us work hard, or all of us have some days which are really, really long. But it is also important, at least at Moody's, it is when you are on your time off, you are not allowed to log in. And it is because also we are heavily regulated. It is not allowed. It is a compliance issue. I understand that is not true for companies which are not in the financial services or not so regulated, but also it is something that should be role modeled. Like if I know my reporter is working on a Sunday and or is working while on holidays, I should know and not just appreciate it. Sometimes we also end up appreciating this extra hours and all of that in a team, while not realizing that we are actually like doing bad to the culture by appreciating when somebody is working on the holidays. I mean, everybody is given a 9 hours, so it is also up to us to train people to work efficiently and to make use of those 9 hours. So I think we need to marry both the business outcomes and the culture that we are building and work together closely, not park wellness under the human resources professionals. It is everybody's job to contribute to the DNA of the company's culture. It is not a function just of the people team or the human resources. It is everybody's job to ensure that everybody feels a sense of belongingness in the company.
Sandesh, if I may add.
Yes, Sriram.
I would just add what we do at Cureless. Like as I've said, our people engagement initiative is based on we care, we commit, and we imagine, which is our values. And we care is focusing on mostly on the wellness and well-being. So we try to keep it very simple in terms of our strategy. When we say wellness and well-being, we try to have four pillars around it. One is on the emotional, the other one on the physical, and then we have financial and social well-being. So these are the four categories that we try to build things on. So when it comes to emotional well-being, we try to do, apart from the team building workshops and all, we do happiness boot clubs, boot camps, and other thing on mental health quiz, and also some of things which is like psychological first aid program. So these are simple things that we do apart from the stress management and team building workshops that we do on the emotional well-being to build on our employees' emotional well-being. Apart from that, we do a lot in the space of physical well-being, like we organize yoga sessions, we do Zumba sessions, we try and talk about personal hygiene. We have a tie-up with the hospitals where they come and talk about different aspects of the health that we need to take care of. We have tie-up with Heartfulness for doing meditation sessions. So these are things that we do. And most important that I felt is on the financial well-being, because any of these cases happen because people, those who, I mean, today's generation or any generation for that matter, if you do not manage your finance well, then you get into a lot of other stress. And that is one of the reasons that we have seen many people, those who are tendency to commit suicide, because they have taken a lot of loan, they have taken a lot of used credit cards and all that, and they are not able to manage their finances. There's a lot of societal pressure on them, and that's why we do a lot of work on the being, where we talk about financial literacy and organize sessions with different banks, insurance companies, and try and see that how they can have a better financial well-being for themselves, how they can do a little bit of investment that can help them feel more confident. So that's what we do in terms of financial well-being. And apart from everything, social well-being is very important. We are all social animal, and we do not, as some of the speakers have already spoken, in terms of how do you connect with your family, how do you connect with your friends. Being at work, we have a tendency to miss out on our being a social animal and doing all that which is required. So we try and see simple things that we do in terms of calling family, for that matter. In a rewards and recognition program, if somebody is completing 10 years in the organization, so we try and call the family and appreciate them. So that's something which is trying to recognize them on their social side, and they also feel good about it. So small little things like bringing their parents for a mother on a Mother's Day, or making a nice video on a Father's Day or a Children's Day, bringing children to the workplace. These are certain things that we do so that they feel proud of being part of the organization, and the belongingness increase. And these are simple things that we do, but I find it more meaning in this, because people are able to connect to not just their own self, but to the organization, and they feel proud of being part of the organization. So these are simple.
You're addressing the belonging bucket.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, Som, I know you've been wanting to say something for a while with your hand up. So please, Som, do step in.
Yeah, I know we are on top of the hour, but quickly wanted to add to one, the question that came to what Shramana and Rina said. I believe we've got to get out of this, and we see this right from talent acquisition, employability, etc. We've got to stop somewhere to say everything needs to be fixed by the enterprises or the places that people are working in. There are responsibilities and I know this may not be the correct forum, but that said, since the question came, I want to say that this is a large ecosystem, right? So there is a lot of elements in play here in the context of psychology and otherwise, which happens much before one joins the workforce. Yes, of course, the enterprises will take care of the people. What about the other parts taking care of their respective roles? So schools, colleges, and the entire works, family, for example, right? So my point was maybe not fair to park everything onto the enterprises. Maybe there's some soul searching, some mirror looking that needs to be done even before people enter the workforces.
Correct.
I just have one point to add to what Som said, and well said, Som. I think there are ample of enablers, and I come back again and again that it's all about an individual as well. stress is a much more, I would not say an abused word, but I think it's a word that is used predominantly
Loosely.
everywhere, loosely, right? So I think it's with us. How do we take this and make use of those enablers which are around you and which can help you as well, rather than putting everything on the leadership, on the management, on the enterprise. I mean, that's what I want to say. So well said.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think there's a question that's yeah. Go ahead, Vikram.
Yeah.
So, see, the first thing is people generally are not aware of what state they are in. And they constantly keep moving that state of I'm okay till the very end, when they are absolutely come to a point when they are unable to handle, they are overwhelmed, rather, let me tell you, they're overwhelmed. So some of the pointers that they can touch point on are, first, speaking to, going and speaking to people and getting the right treatment done. So it needs to be, they have to have touch points. So it could be a counselor, it could be someone who's available, a person whom they can get the right information from and the right people to touch point on. Because a lot of the times people go to people who are just by the way, they talk to them, and then it becomes worse for them. So they need to know, who do they need to go to? Do they need to go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or they just need to be listened to, or they need to just take a mini vacation, probably just need some rest. So these are things that they need to go to the right person in the organization, who will help them to give them an idea of where they are. So there are many different assessments available online. There are many assessments, and there are many apps where today counselors, coaches are available for you to give a first session where they will let you know whom do you need to go to and where do you need to go to. So there is a lot available online, but you need to know where to go. Don't just go offhand to anybody, because that's where the problem lies. Find out from your organization. I'm sure they will have touch points for you.
Thank you all panelists. First of all, for taking the time. 2.5 is no mean feat, and thank you very much for being here.
Oh, this was wonderful, Sandesh. Thank you so much. I think we need to make the change happen. So let's start from ourselves. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for being there.
It was very informative. It was very informative for all, irrespective of whatever the department we are working in. These are all the common factors every organization and administration will face, and it's really a very informative session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And the rest of the session,
everyone.
I shall
I think
sign
it was very enriching, interacting with each one of you. Thank you, Sandesh, for this opportunity.
Thank you.
Glad
Thank you.
We have shared these thoughts. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Sandesh. Thanks, everyone else.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.